Hey guys! So I was asked to make this video about a gazillion times, and 1 o'clock in the morning is when I'm going to do it. So let's jump right into it. So Pottery 101. You're a total beginner, you walk into a store. How do you know what to get? What clay do you get? What glaze do you get? And what do you do with them? Okay. So you guys, on this channel, I have lots of videos that are much more in-depth. So if you want to look at the different types of clay, the different types of underglazes and glazes and how to use them, there are videos for all of those things. And please, once you understand the basics, you can go and you can watch those videos and perhaps, make choices as to what you want to use. But in this video, cliff notes, okay? Complete basics. Just want to kind of give you the skeleton of the process so that it doesn't look so intimidating. So your clay, you're going to choose, there's lots of choices, especially online, but they basically fall into one of the three categories. You're going to have your earthenware, your stoneware, or your porcelain clays. Earthenware is more porous, it's usually fired at slightly lower temperatures, and it's great for things like flower pots, it's anything that's like terracotta things, that sort of thing. Stonewares are a little bit tighter. They're fired at slightly higher temperatures, and they're great for functional ware, so mugs, plates. This is the bulk of the things that we make. So stonewares are great for that. And then your porcelain clays, they're a real pain in the neck to work with. So probably not the type of clay you want to start with, although I did and I survived, it was okay, but porcelains are great because they're almost translucent. When they fire, they almost become glass. So they're very strong, and they're very they're smooth, and like I said, they can even like let the light through. But they're a real pain in the neck to work with, really. So most of us stick to stoneware. So stoneware is like the main clay that we use to make all the typical pottery things, right? So like your mugs, your plates, your vases, things like that. Okay, so those are the types. Oftentimes it will say, when you're buying the clay, it will say what it is. So it will say, oh, stoneware, If not, you can always call the manufacturer and they can tell you, if your clay gives you some weird number like B037, you can call like Laguna and be like, hey, is this stoneware? Is this, and they'll tell you. But the other thing that will tell you on the clay when you buy it, and that's really, really important, is it will tell you, in Europe, it will tell you what temperature to fire to, because they assume that you know how to fire, you know the schedule for that type of clay. In the United States, we use cones usually. So it will tell you what cones your clay fires to. Aside, what is a cone? A cone is the amount of heat that it takes to vitrify your clay. Meaning that when you put it in, it's mud. Then you apply heat to it, and it actually will change the molecular structure and fuse your piece. So now it becomes waterproof and it does not leak water. Okay? It's called vitrification. So a cone is the amount of heat that it takes to do that. So when it says on your clay, this is really important, when it says that, oh, this clay is a cone 4 to 6 clay, that means that at cone 4 it starts vitrifying, at cone 6 it finishes. So guess what? The cone 4 to 6 clay that you're buying, you're really buying cone 6 clay. Because especially if you're making things like mugs, you don't want them to leak. You want to fire it to full vitrification, which means the end of that range. Okay? So make sure that you know that you fire to the end of the range. And also, you guys, in ceramics, 0.6 is not the same as 6. That 0 in front, that matters, okay? Those are lower cones. Just so you know, those are, that's a less heat wear, right? Less heat work. Clays. So Okay, so you chose your clay, okay, so cone 4 to 6. If you really want to make sure that you're good to make mugs with it, you're looking for clays where the manufacturer will say that the absorption at the end is less than 2%. So 2% is okay, like 1% is even better. That means that the clay itself, even without the glaze, will not leak water, okay? So anything less than 2% is suitable for your food safe items. Okay, fantastic. So you picked out this clay. It says cone 4 to 6. Absorption is 1%. Okay, great. So that will be your clay and you want to make mugs with it. Well, you want to decorate your mugs at some point, right? So you're looking at underglazes and glazes. The basic difference is underglaze still requires a glaze to go on top of it. So if you choose to do things like watercolor on your mugs, really like paint with them, you may choose some underglazes, but then you need a clear glaze to cover that because underglaze by itself is not food safe. You can keep it on the outside of the mug, but it won't be shiny. To make it shiny, you still want that clear glaze. Or you can choose to skip that whole entire process and just use glazes. Lots of us do that. Okay, but which glaze to use? Okay, so underglazes and glazes also have a cone range, but unlike the clay, this is a true range. So you can fire it anywhere in that range. It does not matter, to which end. When it gets a little hotter, the colors tend to fade a little bit. Sometimes the glazes get a little more flowy. But the point being is that they're designed to be fired at any of those numbers and within any of those, anywhere within that range. I cannot talk, you guys. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, I apologize, but probably 2 by now. So the clay, you fire it to the end of the range, and the glaze can be anywhere in its range. You have to make sure that whatever cone your clay fires to, that number is included in your glaze range. Okay, they have to match. So, for example, if you're buying a cone 6 clay, you can't buy cone 06 to 6 glaze because that doesn't include your clay. So you want to buy a glaze that 06 is fine, but it has to go past 6. It has to be like 06 to 6 or 06 to 10. It has to include your clay in it. Does that make sense? I hope I made sense. So your clay and your glaze cones have to match. Okay, they both have to be fired to the same cone in the end. Okay. So if you want to learn more about the glazes, you can go watch my other video. But say you're a happy camper, you bought yourself a nice stoneware clay and a nice glaze that fires to that same cone. So you have your cone 6 clay, cone 6 glaze. Fantastic, you walk out of that store. Now what? So you're going to make a piece, and when you make it, it's called greenware. Okay? It's going to be cool to touch. Once it becomes warm to your cheek, now your piece is bone dry. Once it's bone dry, you can go ahead and take it in for your first firing. Now, hopefully somebody's firing for you. If you're firing by yourself, like I said, that's like a whole nother story that I need to tell you. But so let's just say that you brought it to your community studio and they're going to bisque fire your clay. What does that mean? We're firing it just a little bit, just to burn some stuff out of your clay. Why do we need to do it? We don't have to do it. Not everybody does that first firing, but it's really helpful because when you're burning stuff out of your clay, it comes off as gases. And if your piece was already glazed, sometimes it can cause defects. Okay. So, okay, great. So you brought your little piece that's bone dry and they're putting it in for a bisque firing, low temps. It doesn't even have to be precise, somewhere 04, 06 range, doesn't matter. you know, just burning some stuff out of it. And they're going to give it back to you, and it's going to look like this. It's going to be usually a different color, and it's gonna feel and sound a little bit different, but not, you know, it still kind of feels rough, like it's not like a nice ceramic glossy piece. Okay, great. So you're going to bring this home. It's a lot less fragile, by the way, and it has shrunk. Okay, but you bring it home, and now you're going to apply your, you know, under glazes if you're using them, and then your glazes. Okay, so you have glazed your piece, and now you're going to bring it in for a second firing. This firing, we call it glaze firing, I think for obvious reasons. So at that point, they or you are going to fire it to the topmost cone of your clay to completely vitrify a piece and turn it into a ceramic piece. Your glaze is fine at that temperature range because manufacturer said it was. And so what you get back is a glazed piece. Now it has shrunk a little bit more, and it sounds and feels almost like glass. So now your piece has been glaze fired and it's completely vitrified. Now it's safe to use for food usually, as long as your glaze was food safe. You know, you don't want like lead in it, things like that. I have a video for that too. But basically it's ready to be used, is my point. That is overall the process of ceramics. Yes, sometimes we keep firing and we put on things like gold and over glazes. It's really, really fun, and don't be afraid of it. I talk about it also on my channel, and I explain how to use them. It's not scary at all, but it is a third, fourth, fifth firing sometimes. So that usually people get into once they get their own kiln, because then, you know, you have more flexibility and you can run these quick little firings afterwards, and it's not a big deal. Some community studios will also, you know, do other firings. But that, you guys, that is the basic process of pottery. I'm sure I'm leaving out a ton of stuff. Again, I'm going to refer you to my other videos to get the in-depth detail. But the skeleton process of pottery is that you choose your clay, you choose your glaze, the cones have to match. You're going to fire your clay to the top cone that it goes to. Your glaze has to match the top cone of your clay. And you do usually 2 firings. You do bisque firing, and then you glaze, and you do your glaze firing, and then your piece is ready to be used. So that is the basics, okay? If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will be happy to answer any and all of them as they come. I hope I was helpful in this video, and have a great night, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.